Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am in Jane's garden. Jane has grown such a large variety of tomatoes and peppers. 29 varieties of tomatoes and 13 varieties of peppers and leek and many more other things. Today we will talk to Jane about her experience with this. When did she start? When does she start seedlings? And what soil mixture does she use for this? And all her secrets. So this is no small feat. You have done this impressive work. So tell me first of all, when did you start this? Like how long? When did you really start this?
Well, in terms of how many years I've been doing it, I've lost count. I've been doing it for many years. 15, 20 at least. In terms of when I started these seedlings, it varies depending on the type. Peppers take a longer time, so I start those in mid-February.
Okay.
Tomatoes, mid-March.
Okay.
Leeks, February. What else did I start in February? It was mainly the leeks. Celery. I started the celery I haven't grown celery from seed before.
Okay.
And I started that in February as well.
So peppers and celery you start in February.
Yeah.
And tomatoes in March. So specific mid-March, end of the March.
Roughly mid-March, yeah. They say, if you read the seed packets, which you should always read the seed packets, 6 to 8 weeks before you want to plant them out. I found for peppers that's not enough. So I start them a month earlier. But for tomatoes, 6 to 8 weeks is fine. And if I start them too early, which I have done, they end up this tall.
Too early means when?
Even February.
Tomatoes, okay.
Yeah, if I start the tomatoes in February, they get too tall, too leggy, and I run out of space. I have a light stand in the basement where I start my seedlings, and I run out of space because they start in very small pots, like smaller than these.
Okay.
And then as they grow, I move them into bigger pots, and I finish with these red solo cups because they're very inexpensive, and I can reuse them I have some I've been reusing
forever,
for years and years.
So you start tomatoes in mid-March.
Yeah.
And I started mid-April. So everyone, we are here in the mid of May, and from March to May, 1.5 months almost, we have this big tomatoes. And from February to, you have the pepper, right? From February to May, this big peppers, see? So you got it now. We have to start peppers in February and tomatoes in March. Then you get the good size of seedling in May when you have to grow out. And it's so windy and it's still cold, 7 degrees today, Jane.
Yeah.
What is your plan?
Well, I would like to plant them out, but it'll be probably, I might be able to start on Sunday because the overnight temperatures will be low tomorrow morning, very early. But after that, the overnight temperatures go up a bit.
Yeah.
So, and the daytime temperatures will also be higher.
Yeah, so
I think I like daytime temperatures to be definitely above 10 degrees for planting out. Above 15 is better.
Yes, that's right. So a lot of gardeners might already know what you are doing. You are bringing the seedlings from inside to outside. What are you doing? But there might be a lot of people who don't have experience with this. Right. What are you really doing with this? What is this process?
This process is called hardening off. And what you do is you get the little plants, they grew up indoors, right? No wind, some people put a fan to simulate wind, but even so, no wind, the temperature is very stable. So you have to get them, and they don't have sunlight. Even with the lights, it's not as bright as direct sunlight. So you have to get them used to being outside. And so you start, I started about a week ago, and I brought them all outside, and I had them out for a few hours in the afternoon in kind of part shade, like under a tree, so they weren't getting like full direct sun. And then gradually over the week, I increased the amount of time they're outside.
Okay.
But still, at night they go into the garage
It's still okay. Okay.
because, you know, next week
Yeah.
anything that's not planted could probably stay out 24 hours.
Yeah.
But for the stuff, for now, because we've been having colder temperatures overnight, they have to go back inside.
Yeah. So when you really have to plant it outside, maybe 2 weeks before you start hardening off, and initially you just take out for a couple of hours, 7-8 hours, you back them in, and then after that you start increasing the time.
Yep.
You know, that is the mistake I did. I knew what is hardening, but since first day I started bringing them out early 8 o'clock, and until night 8 o'clock, 12 hours, they were outside in cold.
If they're not in direct sun,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
The problem is you'll get, I think I'm okay this year. I don't think I had it happen to any of them, but I've had like sunburn, where sometimes you'll get like dead patches on the leaves where they get too much sun too fast.
Okay, okay. So if it's not very sunny, very hot, then it's fine.
Yeah.
And not very cold as well.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So I can see there are a lot of seedlings. You have more over there as well. It's quite a lot of work to bring them out every day and take them in, and then you are giving away these seedlings to community as well. What is your inspiration behind it? What the satisfaction does it give it to you?
Well, I mean, I really like tomatoes. And there are so many interesting varieties of tomatoes that are interesting colors or different flavors, different sizes. So I got kind of carried away, right? I buy a bunch of tomato seeds, and then next year I haven't used up all of last year's tomato seeds, so I grow those ones plus whatever new ones I've found. And I grow between 4 and 6 of each variety, because you don't know if they're all going to come up. And if you grow 6, they will all come up. If you grew 1, it wouldn't.
Yeah, that's right.
So I only need 1 of each variety.
Yeah.
My worst year for tomatoes, I had 70 varieties.
Yeah.
And that was the year I lost a big chunk of garden space.
Yeah.
Because I had a senior citizen living next door who allowed me to use her vegetable garden.
Yeah.
And that was the year she sold her house and moved.
Oh.
And the new owner naturally wanted to use his own garden. I mean, I can't complain.
Yeah.
But I had to build like 3 new raised beds in order to fit all of the tomatoes in. And I've been reducing since then. So now this year only 29. It was supposed to be 30, but I actually did have 1 tomato that none of them came up.
So your own raised beds, I mean, I can see it there in your garden. These ones you're talking about, you made your own raised beds. So you grow so much, and that way you get to give away to everyone as well. So we are happy. And you know, I also try to do multiples, but mine don't survive. So you are doing such a great job.
Well,
Yeah.
I start with, I mean, you can use any kind of potting mix. I have a seed starting mix,
Okay.
which is very, a seed comes with all the nutrients it needs in the seed. And the seed starting mix doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it. It's basically just, it holds the water.
Yeah.
And so as soon as they're big enough, I move them up into a bigger pot with regular potting soil,
Okay.
so that they have a little more nutrition. And sometimes I don't need to repot them again. Like the peppers go from their tiny pots into something this size. But the tomatoes need to generally go in bigger pots. They get bigger faster.
So Jane, you mentioned that seed itself has nutrients and doesn't really need from seed starting mix. But what I found is, I have heard that we should use lighter soil, and regular potting soil is not good for starting seeds. And maybe that's why my seedlings don't grow so well. So what is the secret for soil mix?
Honestly, I buy giant bales of Pro Mix. And so
Pro Mix means the seed starting?
It's a brand.
For the seed starting?
For the seed starting, yeah.
Okay.
I have a bale, that's regular potting soil.
Okay.
But I have a bale the same size of seed starting mix. which I've been using for quite a few years because you don't use all that much.
That's right. And that's why it's so light. It's not heavy soil.
Right.
Right?
It is very peat-based.
Peat-based, yeah.
And of course, a lot of people are trying to transition away from peat-based mixes because of the problem of peat.
Okay.
Peat's a limited resource, and it's an important carbon sink for the planet. And so, of course, digging up peat bogs and using the peat is not necessarily the best.
But we are using in the garden itself.
Yeah, but it's still destroying these incredibly beautiful habitats.
Yeah, peat is that fibrous material that we get in forest and
Yeah.
that, right? Yeah. Okay.
It develops in bogs. It's basically, it's mosses, but of course, over a period of years, the moss builds up and up and up, so you get very deep amounts, like a very deep layer of peat.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you use the ready-made seed starting mix. You don't use that vermiculite and perlite things to make.
It's mixed into the it's already mixed in. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe next time I have to use that seed starting mix as well rather than just regular potting soil. I might have some success as well. Okay, another thing that is catching my eyes is your labels to all the tomatoes and peppers, because you said you have a lot of varieties, different varieties of tomatoes, peppers. How do you keep track of this?
When I first put the seeds in, every single plant gets a label. So it says tomato, it says the variety, which in this case is creamsicle grape.
Yeah.
And I also usually put an I or a D for the type of tomato, indeterminate or determinate, which is how they grow.
Yeah.
So I label every single seed tray. Every single seed gets a label.
So
and
this is readable. It's already getting lighter. Like you can read. It's still
well, I may have reused that label for several years.
Okay, same label for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I write on them in pencil.
Okay.
So that with pencil you can erase. So if I don't grow creamsicle grape next year, which I might not because I'm out of seed, I think, I can erase this and
you can write on
it again.
Yeah.
That's why I prefer to write with pencil rather than felt pen.
Yeah. Okay, so this is tomato, peppers, leeks you mentioned. What else do you grow?
I have these guys. This is a tomatillo.
Okay, tomatillo. Okay.
Tomatillo. This variety is called Queen of Melanalco, and it's a yellow tomatillo.
So it looks like tomatoes.
Looks a lot like a tomato, but with a papery husk.
Okay.
A lot of people are familiar with the round green tomatillos. They're used very heavily in Mexican cooking.
Okay.
This is just it's an oblong yellow variety. It's very tasty.
Okay. So do you just eat it by itself? Don't cook or something?
I do cook some of the tomatillos. I also have the green kind, so I cook some of those. But the yellow ones, like I just put them in smoothies and stuff. They're really quite sweet. I also have these guys, which are called Inca berries. They're another kind of a husk. If you're familiar with ground cherries, they're very similar. They're a little bit larger. This year I have tried celery. So I have two different varieties of celery.
So celeries you will grow individually. How far in the, how many celeries you have? Like how much will you grow from one seed, one plant?
One plant? I've kept 4 plants of each variety.
Okay.
Celery needs a lot of water, so I'm going to plant them in self-watering pot.
Okay.
They can actually be planted quite close together, about 6 inches according to what I read. And so I'm going to plant 8 of them in one pot, which is a self-watering pot, so that they'll hopefully get nice and juicy. And
so 4 plants will give you a lot of stalks.
I think so.
You can consume. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
What else have I got? I've got a couple of eggplant.
Okay. small variety or bigger one?
It's a smaller variety. It's one of the longer skinny ones. I've tried to grow the round ones and I've never had much success, but these longer skinny ones can be quite successful.
Yeah. So how do you cook eggplant? Bake it or?
Yeah, usually like a ratatouille or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Mixed?
I think that's about all I've got here. I do have leeks and
Yeah, we can get that. Yeah.
some onions over here.
Okay.
That's
And how would you transplant in the bed?
I use a dibbler, which is a long, skinny wooden
Okay.
thing. I make a hole, I drop it in, and I don't fill the hole.
Okay.
I have some out front, I can show you later, that I've already planted. Leeks are quite good about taking the cold. So, yeah, just make a hole, drop them in the hole, leave them. And the hole can be quite deep. And you can also hill the plants up once they get bigger, because they will, it will blanch the stems. Like the thing, if you buy leeks in the grocery store, right, they have quite long stems that are white, and those have been blanched. And I don't know.
Blanched.
I don't know if it makes the flavor better or what.
Otherwise it's green. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, and how far? About 1 inch from each other or 2 inches?
A couple of inches for the leeks, less for onions.
Okay.
These are scallions, like green onions. Oh no, those are leeks too. I have some onions someplace, but they're you can plant those quite close together because you eat them as green onions. I don't tend to grow bulbing onions because I've had problems with onion maggots. Whereas
so yeah, now because we are talking about the distance between plants, how about tomatoes and peppers? So how far they have to go from each other?
peppers about a foot.
About a foot, so 12 inches at least. Okay. Yeah. And
tomatoes depend. I grow them very upright on stakes, so I can usually do those a foot apart as well.
Yeah.
For the indeterminate tomatoes, because they just grow up and up and they keep growing. For the determinate tomatoes, which are more bushy, I would probably give them 18 inches.
Okay, so can we also do peppers and tomatoes in the planters, like small 10 inches, 12 inches is good enough for it?
Yep. Yeah, particularly peppers. Peppers love heat.
Okay.
And if you want to get the best,
Smaller,
the best yield off your peppers, you're going to want them to be someplace very hot. So I always plant them in my hottest beds with the most sun and the most, I mean, all vegetables need a lot of sun.
Okay.
There are very few that can take very much shade, but all of them need sun, but some things need more sun and peppers need more sun.
So you get sun all over in your garden?
It's
It looks
not
open.
bad, that's south.
Yeah, okay.
So this part is pretty sunny, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we have been talking about seedlings. Do you also have seeds that you straight go outside, outside?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, in which planter do you do? We will go there wherever you do it.
I have some out front that I planted already. My garlic, I planted that last fall.
Yeah.
You plant the cloves.
Okay, so let's go there and we will talk there.
Okay.
And so this is your garlic
This is my garlic. I planted it last fall in October, and I'm very pleased it all came up.
Yeah, it's already looking so good.
Yeah. So the garlic, it won't be ready to dig until probably the end of August. Well, July, end of July, beginning of August, probably. In the meantime, each garlic plant will get what they call a garlic scape, which is, it's the stem that the bud for the flower is on.
Yeah.
And those are very tasty. You can cut those and cook them. And you get better garlic if you cut them because it puts more energy into the root. So I'm really hoping for good garlic this year. Around the garlic, I planted a ring of carrots. And No particular reason. It's a front yard garden, and I like it to look a little fancier.
Yeah, it's a front yard. I mean, your backyard is also very fancier. So, yeah.
But, and I planted here. These are the leeks. So you see, I poke a hole like that. I dump them.
You don't have to fill the hole. You were saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then in this bed, the only thing I've planted so far is peanuts, and they haven't come up yet. So I should have started those indoors, and I didn't get it done. Something happened. I got busy, and
Okay.
so the peanuts have not sprouted yet. Again, they love the heat.
But those will
So
come eventually.
they will come. Yeah. So I have a row of peanuts along the front, and then I'll put peppers in the middle and tomatoes at the back.
Okay. About one feet
Yeah.
and a half. Yeah.
And I'll have tomatoes like everywhere, and also a lot of the pots will be tomatoes.
Yeah, that's what I do too. Everything in a place and then tomatoes everywhere. Okay, tell me more about peanuts. How do you harvest it? How do you consume it?
They grow underground.
Okay, just
They
like
bloom.
potatoes.
Peanuts are quite interesting. They bloom above the ground, very pretty little yellow flowers,
Yeah.
and then they peg down into the soil and produce the peanuts underground like a potato.
Yeah.
And so when you dig them, you dig the whole plant and you just take off the peanuts.
Yeah.
And then I usually roast them a little bit and then just eat them. They're delicious. They're they tend to be very small. And I got the seed from a company in Nova Scotia called Annapolis Seeds. They've been selecting for a more northern climate for a while. And now every year when I grow the peanuts, I save seeds and grow so that, again, they're adapting to this climate. So hopefully they'll get more productive as the years go by.
Isn't every peanut, raw peanut is a seed?
Yeah.
Right, but you got the seed, like specific seeds.
Yeah,
So
they I forget if they have a specific name for it, but
And when do you grow these peanut seeds?
I should have started them indoors the same time as I started the tomatoes, and I didn't get around to it. So I just planted them direct.
Okay, then like early May.
About a week ago.
About a week, so early May.
Early May.
And when would you see the plants? I mean, seedlings.
Germination takes a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So.
And when would you be able to harvest?
I'll leave them as long as I can into the fall, because they do. Like our season is very short for peanuts.
Yeah.
But I will leave them until probably end of September if I can.
Okay.
I can always put covers over them to try and.
Still after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are talking about covers. I love these. You must be using covers.
Yeah, these were put in last year. They're actually a bit too tall,
Yeah.
and I'm going to have them taken down a foot or so.
Okay.
But yeah, I have covers that I put over. Just the covers they're actually curtains from IKEA.
Okay.
They're
Not the plastic. Is it plastic? No. It's a fabric.
Well, I mean, it's tulle, so a very fine mesh. So I mainly use these on the beds where I'm doing cabbages and that kind of thing, because they get the cabbage worms, and then they there's nothing more disgusting than harvesting your broccoli and discovering it's just full of little worms.
Little worms, yeah.
I just hate that. So the cabbages are actually going to go in this bed this year. So that's the bed that will have these.
Yeah, so both of your beds have these, so you can cover it. So that's nice. Yeah.
And last year I had corn in this bed. So even though I didn't have to cover it, these were quite helpful for supporting the corn when it got windy.
This can be used to support or cover both.
Yeah, and you could also use it, like put strings down from it, and support things with strings like cucumbers and
These are
things.
handy. Yeah. I'm getting a lot of great ideas from your garden today. Yeah, and you do have, before I will move to this irrigation system and other trellis, do you do potatoes, peas, or carrot, beets?
I
any
do
other?
peas, carrots. I don't do potatoes every year. Once in a while I do. Sometimes just in a grow bag.
Okay.
But potatoes, you can buy potatoes quite cheap and they do take
Yeah.
up quite a lot of space.
Yeah.
So when I was able to garden next door, I always had lots of potatoes. But now,
Yeah.
and then plus, it's only two of us
Yeah.
in the house, so we don't need the same volume
Yeah.
that we used to.
I mean, you can use your garden space for more fancier items, right?
Well,
Peanuts.
Peanut, yeah. I mean, you never get a huge harvest of peanuts, right?
Yeah, still.
It's
I mean,
it's going to be a
yeah.
bowl full
Yeah.
at the most.
Yeah.
So, you know, I grow some things just for fun.
That's right. Yeah.
Some years I've grown okra
Okay.
just for fun.
That needs a lot of heat.
It does.
Yeah.
So pretty though.
Yes.
Like the flowers are lovely.
Yes.
And you know, so I tend to grow mostly the things that we eat, and that's, you know, carrots, peas, beets, lettuce, chard, kale, cabbage. You know.
Yeah. So have you already grown those other seeds like carrots?
No, a carrot. Well, the carrots I direct seed, so I've got that one row around
Okay.
the garlic.
You have already done it?
I've already seeded those, yes. But I will seed more carrots.
Yeah, you can. You can do it any time. How much time do you need to grow?
Anytime before mid-June,
Mid-June.
I do for carrots. You could probably go a bit later, but
June, July, August, good enough, and you keep
I mean,
harvesting.
you
and-
have to again look at the seed packet
Yeah.
and see how many days to maturity, and then work with that.
Do you do any of the greens? You mentioned kale, other greens, spinach or fenugreek seeds. Do you do that?
I haven't done fenugreek. No,
Okay, you don't eat
I don't.
that as much.
I don't know how to cook with it. So
Okay, yeah, we love to cook
Oh, yeah. It's-
fenugreek. So a lot of my friends do fenugreek,
yeah.
and maybe it's similar to spinach.
I do a lot of herbs, so I always have to have parsley, oregano, sage, thyme. What else do I have? Lemon balm.
Yeah.
I have a rosemary that I take in the house in the winter. Some years, this year is the first year I think it's actually survived the whole winter, because I put it in a much bigger pot. Usually it's in a pot like this and it dries out and that's it, it's dead. So this year it survived and it's back outside. Same with the bay leaf, bay laurel, I have that as well. So I always have to have a lot of fresh herbs. And basil, I grow a lot of basil because we love it, right? We eat pesto all winter. And
In the beginning, we talked about the seedlings, but we did not talk about how you sow them inside. How much heat do you need to grow those seeds? What kind of space do you have inside?
I have a 3-level light stand. So it has 3 levels of lights with trays, 2 trays under each light. And I also have a counter with a flat area where I can plug in the heating pad. Heat from below the seedlings really helps with germination, particularly for the hot weather crops like tomatoes and peppers and that kind of thing. They will germinate without heat. It's just slower. But they only stay on the heat until they've sprouted. Once they've sprouted, you don't need it anymore. So I either, start another set of trays, or else I unplug the heat. And then the lights, from the minute they're sprouted, as soon as they're sprouted, they have to be under lights because otherwise
They need heat.
they need the light. And my basement's quite cool, and that doesn't seem to have been a problem.
So you do this in the basement.
Yeah.
You have a lot of space.
I used to do it in the living room. It just took up so much space.
Yeah. It looks like a garden for whole February and March.
Yeah. It works very well. This is a Saskatoon, which is a native fruit-bearing shrub. Produces very nice berries, makes nice jam and jelly, and the birds love it. and it's very, very productive. So there's enough for me and the birds, which is nice.
So how do you know this one is not eaten by a bird? I mean, you get the clean ones as well?
Yeah, you can tell. Like birds usually eat the whole berry. They don't leave anything. So I pick. I'll pick early in the season. It's ready in mid-July, and so I pick as much as I want, and then I leave the rest for the birds.
That's pretty big tree.
Yeah. Here I have black currant. Again, a very heavy producer. Actually does well in part shade. So it's very rare to get something that does well in part shade. I have grapevines. It is budding out.
Yeah, okay.
And I prune it very hard. So once it sets fruit, I keep pruning it so that it puts all its energy into the fruit.
Okay. It looks dry. Where is this is the one, right?
Yeah. But you see it's got buds coming up here and here. Down here. But yeah, a grapevine is they get very, I don't know what you call it, but they do look dead. And some of these may be dead. Once I know once it buds out, I'll cut off anything that seems dead.
Okay.
I have a cherry tree here. This is my pear tree. So we will have some pears. It's hard to say how many we'll get, but when it's cold like this, there aren't as many pollinators out. And if it doesn't warm up before the blossoms are finished, we may not get very many pears. It can be a very heavy producer. I've had as many as 300 pounds of pears off this tree. Hopefully not that many this year. It's hard to get
So what do you do with all of it?
Oh, I made pear everything. We had pear cobbler and pear butter and pear juice and pear sauce and pear liqueur and pear pie. And then I found a friend who made cider, and they made pear cider. A friend who makes cider is a good thing to have if you have an apple or a pear tree, because it takes a lot of fruit for that job. So, then in the front yard, I have.
How old is your garden, Jane?
We've been in the house since 1984.
Okay.
So it's been evolving over the years. Like, I go and change things frequently.
Because you mentioned something like 15 years back you have been doing this, all these raised beds, etc.
Oh, yeah. So I have another Saskatoon here, which seems to be doing very well, despite the fact that it appears to have been girdled, probably by a porcupine, which is really annoying, but it's not dead, so I'm hoping it will survive. I have more fruit in this bed. This is gooseberry.
Okay.
Red currant. And then I have 3 haskap here. So haskap is one that does needs 2 compatible plants. So these 2 are compatible. And that one has a graft on it for the compatible one. So we'll see. This is my apricot tree. And it is blooming, but I don't know whether I'll get any apricots. I haven't yet. It's been in about 4 years now.
Okay.
And I still have not had any fruit. But they do take a long time.
Eventually, you will have some fruit.
I hope so. The problem with apricots is that they tend to bloom quite early, and then so getting caught by a late frost is a problem. And then I put in some rhubarb, which is just coming up.
Oh wow, this is your rhubarb?
It's one of them. I have another one on the side of the house.
This is a perennial, comes on its own every day.
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, I mean, I really love the idea of perennial fruit, and it's ready early in the spring, which is nice.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about the Haskaps too, is that they're ready they're ready in June, which is way earlier than any other fruit.
Yeah.
And they're delicious. So, I think that's about it. We have another cherry tree here.
Yeah, there's cherry tree. We have talked about so many things. You have so many fruit trees and these berries, cherries and tomatoes. What all do you do with this? I know it's so much for you that you must be preserving as well.
I make a lot of jam. This is Haskap jam.
Okay.
And I like all kinds of jam, but fruit butters are also good. Similar to jam, more like a thickened applesauce or pear sauce in my case. I don't have an apple tree. I also make a lot of juice. I have a steam juicer where you put water in the bottom, and then there's a middle section, and then there's a top section where you put the fruit, and it drips. It steams the fruit, and the juice drips down into the middle section. So fruit juice is really a good way to use.
Yeah, let me go deeper on this. How you make fruit? First of all, what fruits?
You could use almost anything. Saskatoons, I think, are too dry, so I don't use them. But cherries, grapes, make the grape juice. Pears, made rhubarb juice. If I had apples, or sometimes some people give you stuff, right? So if somebody gave me a lot of apples, I'd probably make apple juice.
So this is called steam juice.
Steam juicer, yes.
Steam juicer. Okay. I have heard about this first time. I'm learning a lot today.
It's nice because all you do is chop the fruit a little bit, and then put it in the top, and then you just leave it on the stove for hours. And there's a hose, you can drain that juice off if it gets full.
You drink it hot or cold?
I usually let it cool and drink it cold, and I freeze a lot of it. I have a big freezer, so we freeze a lot of like we can't use all the fruit at once. We'll put some in the freezer for later, for pies or whatever. Things are very busy in the fall, so if I pick all my grapes and I don't have time to make grape jelly, I just put all the grapes in the freezer, and then I can deal with them later.
So what would you do with the frozen grapes?
I just make jam. Jam or jelly. They make such good grape jelly. It's really, really nice. We use the freezer a lot for other kinds of produce, like tomatillos and tomatoes. Sometimes freeze the tomatoes just whole. Sometimes they make sauce. Basil. We have a lot of basil. I'll make a lot of pesto and freeze that in little containers, so we just have enough for a meal. I have a dryer, so I will dry particularly herbs, but I mean you can dry anything. It doesn't hold a ton, but kale, like making dry kale for smoothies.
You can
and stuff.
dry pear as well.
Yep.
Do you do that?
No, I don't normally. I've done fruit leather. I've made fruit leather out of like the grape pulp.
Fruit leather, okay.
We used to be able to buy it a lot for kids. Like it was considered a healthy snack. But I make a lot of jam and jelly. I've made syrups. Have a recipe for raspberry syrup that's really nice. Have it on ice cream. I collect books on canning and preserving. So pickles, that's another thing. If I have a lot of cucumbers, I'll make pickles. And there are some really, like there's a quick pickle recipe that's ready in like less than 24 hours, which is really nice if you just want to use up a couple of cucumbers. You can make one jar. What else do I make?
Okay, so yeah, we have talked peppers. Do you preserve peppers?
Yes, I've done 2 ways of preserving peppers. The easiest way is to put them in a bag and put them in the freezer, just whole. And then you take them out whenever you want to put peppers in food. I grow mostly hot peppers.
Okay.
I've never had much luck with sweet peppers. They just don't do as well. But hot peppers, I get lots. And we like hot peppers, so that's okay. But if you just throw them in a bag in the freezer and you can take one out and put it in your soup or your stew or whatever, whenever you want, omelet, whatever. That's the easiest thing. I've made hot sauce, like a fermented hot sauce. I've made sauerkraut. One year I made kimchi because I had enough cabbage to do that. Cabbage and other stuff. And kimchi's got a lot of vegetables in it. So fermenting is something I haven't done very much yet, but I'm learning. Because the bacteria in a ferment is very good for you. So.
Okay, so does everything from your garden last a whole year, or you have to buy, no?
I think we had carrots up till about Christmas this year, or this past year, and then I had to buy carrots.
That's a lot too. I mean, until Christmas,
Yeah, and with carrots, like I used to try and keep them in the cold room, and they didn't last. Like they'd go icky. So now I keep them in the fridge.
Just fine. Okay.
And it just means one of my vegetable drawers is like full of carrots for months.
Yeah, just for some months, yeah. I mean, it's the pros and cons. You have to store it if you really want to keep using it for the whole year, right?
Yeah. Freezer is a lifesaver. Like, I don't think I'm going to have much this year, but if I get a lot of squash, then either cooking it and pureeing it and then freeze it in recipe quantities, or chunk it and freeze it in recipe quantities is very good with squash. I don't like frozen carrots, so I don't freeze those. We never have enough peas, so they never get to, like, we just eat them. I never have to preserve peas.
Sorry, why you don't have enough?
I don't have it. We just eat them.
Okay.
They don't last.
I'm fond of peas, so I have a big bed of peas every year, and I freeze a lot. So the only 2 things I freeze is tomatoes and peas. And tomatoes as is, just wash them and maybe chop in half if it's too big, and freeze it and use it in curry. And peas, just peel it, and I got good amount, maybe you can say 2 kg. 2 kg is not good, but it's still good for me. So I freeze it.
I always have a lot of beans, and I grow the kind of beans that you can usually eat them fresh, but they're also really good if you just leave them to dry on the vine. And so have them for soup or whatever. I like beans a lot.
Last year I was late in harvesting my peas. So that happens with peas, those dried out, and then I cook them, in pressure cooker with water. That's how we cook. You have a pressure cooker?
I have an instant pot.
Instant pot is more or less same.
It's kind of,
Okay.
It's like a baby pressure cooker.
It's not baby. I mean, it should be big, or you have a smaller one?
No, it's standard, but
for 2 of you,
you can't do canning in an instant pot because it doesn't hold the pressure the right way. So I don't have the canning type.
We use pressure cooker almost every day. Rice we can cook there, and chickpeas, kidney beans, whatever beans. Indians just love it.
It's actually, I don't have very many appliances, but the one I like is the pressure cooker.
Okay, but you never bought one?
Well, just the instant pot.
Just the instant pot you're saying.
But we use it a lot for beans and peas and soups and things.
It's been great talking to you, Jane.
It's been fun. I always love talking about my garden.
You mentioned, you mentioned you love your tomatoes, right? And I just saw your seedlings and I was so impressed with your work. I just thought I have to talk to you. And you just told me everything. You just showed me your garden, your fruit trees, and all your raised beds. Those are amazing. And those will inspire a lot of people to make this kind of garden or food garden, we can say, right? And yeah, you are doing great work, and I hope everybody will learn a lot from this talk. Thank you so much for talking to me.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I think it's important for people to understand how much you can, if you want to, and you have, like if you have the capacity
Yeah.
to grow quite a lot in a small space. This isn't a very big yard,
Yeah.
and I've put a priority on growing food as opposed to growing, like I like ornamental stuff as well. I have lots of it, but food has always been my first priority, and
Yeah.
you can grow a lot.
Yeah, I can see in such a small space you have a lot of fruit trees, raised bed, such a big compost pile, so that is impressive. I have a much bigger yard than this, but maybe that will also eventually convert into something like this after a few years. Yeah, thank you so much. And everyone, if you enjoyed this talk, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more such greener talks. And we will come back with another talk on the garden. Thank you.